together as a group. You'll have time to come back to every spot we walk past until 5 o'clock this evening. Come on up.
So this is a 1 hour tour. That's okay.
It's called Casa del Monte, House of the Mountains. All cottages named for their views. We're in front of this called Casa del Sol, House of the Sun. If the storm wasn't in later this evening, that'd have the best sunset views. This one, just not even 20 minutes ago, you're seeing the Santa Lucia Mountains. This is House of the Mountains. 4 bedrooms, 2,500 square feet. This is the one the family started using the first 2 summers. They're staying up on the hilltop since it's the only structure that's finished 1921, 1922. They'd eventually start using the largest one. We're going to walk past that in a minute, called Casa del Mar. That's a 3-story house, 8 bedrooms, 5,350 square feet. House of the Sea, that's ocean views. Normally I would talk about the views down below. This is Casa del Mar, House of the Sea. Family starts using that one in 1923 when it becomes available. There's nothing up here. There's foundation being built. These great big rooms we're going into next, they weren't finished until 1925, but normally there's really good views of the cove down below, Centennial Cove, and if you want to see more Julie Morgan's work, there's 3 Julie Morgan designed beach cottages down there now being used as Hearst Ranch employee housing. But behind me here in the fountain sits, it's Art Deco style fountain designed by Julie Morgan. But inside the fountain, this is the oldest items on the hilltop. The sculpture, 4 pieces, her name is Sekhmet. Means a powerful one. Head of Elias, the body of a woman. Sekhmet was the bloodthirsty protector of the sun god Ra, who happened to be her father. She's the giver and taker of life. And these 4 pieces, after Howard Carter would open up, or some might say raid King Tut's tomb in Luxor, Egypt, 1922. Once he opens up the tomb, every prominent art collector around the world is stricken with Egyptomania. They got to have a piece of Egypt added to their art collections, including Hearst. He would get us in the form of the 4-piece sculpture. She's carved out of very hard granite called diorite, one of the harder substances on Earth, actually. And the 4 pieces, they date between 3,100 years old to the oldest is the lion's bust with the solar disc or asp at the back of her head. That piece is just shy of 3,600 years old, and she sits out here, rain, sleet, or snow. When they open up Tut's tomb, they're digging everywhere in Luxor. These start popping up in digs right around that site. 730 have been found to date. What's that? Yeah, that would be really awesome. Erwin Hearst?
Yes.
It was going to be kind of the centerpiece of the place and for the outdoor gardens. First of all, this whole place would feel like a hillside village over in Renaissance, Italy or Spain. And it was very common to see a great big center courtyard right in front of a great big cathedral at the top of the village. Normally you'd have grand views of the San Luis Mountains to your north, this ocean to the south, but what really made this the most prominent of the most popular of the terraces is simply the front courtyard of the Casa Grande, the big house. Because with 137 feet up to the top of the bell towers, the Carillon bells are 18 cast-bronze bells in each tower. They ring daily at noontime. They're going accompanied by a keyboard you see in the theater lobby. And a lot of these great big churches or cathedrals, it was common to see a bell tower, if not bell towers, with Persian tile. That great big wooden cornice is common to see a big wooden cornice across the front of the cathedral. Mr. Hearst is actually hand-carved teakwood from Thailand, carved by a Swiss carver from San Francisco named Jules Supo. And a little bit hard to tell this far down with the fog, but those are animals. Some of the animals guests would have seen in Hearst Exotic Zoo. Largest privately held exotic zoo in the country by the early 1930s. Best way though to make this look like an old Spanish cathedral is bring items in from old Spanish cathedrals. The gates, cast iron with the gold leafing. Arrival through what some people call the secret door. All sorts of myths and rumors around here. Secret doors, ghosts, illegitimate children. We've heard everything. I will dispel one of the rumors. There's no secret door here. Actually, the door is open right now behind us. One of the reasons guests might have thought that it's a secret door is when those doors are closed, just like the ones behind me, they blend right into these are 16th century carved walnut Italian fire stalls from the Italian church that Mr. Hearst is using to decorate wall panel. So people were pretty surprised when all of a sudden the fire stalls opened up. Out comes Mr. Hearst. They were equally surprised on who they saw him come through these doors with. Most guests do not remember seeing him walk through these doors with Mrs. Hearst. Most guests would remember seeing him walk through these doors with his girlfriend. That's it. One reaction. I just introduced you guys the wife and the 5 boys. 10 minutes ago, I spring this girlfriend news on you. One young man that makes a sound to me, so the rest of us are jaded, I guess. Let's do a little background. We think as early as 1915, Mr. Hearst would be a young New York showgirl who was aspiring to become an actress named Marion Davies, and she made this transition into acting with some brilliant success, becoming one of the busiest actors in all of Hollywood throughout the early 1930s era. Her and Mr. Hearst, they were falling in love, and they were not doing a very good job of keeping it a secret. So, well, 1925 comes along. Mrs. Hearst would ask for separation. The two separate, never divorce. But after they separate, Mrs. Hearst, she prefers life in New York. She's a New York socialite, has a lovely Long Island mansion where she's raising the 5 boys. So that's her world. Unlike Mr. Hearst, she didn't really think it was that wonderful out here like he did. She thought this was the middle of nowhere, hot and dusty. So she prefers New York. After separation, Hearst is seen more and more out here, building with his architect at St. Simeon or down to Beverly Hills or Santa Monica where Marion Davies had homes. And Hearst started to develop his new movie production business, Cosmopolitan Productions. So if you were a guest here, you would have thought your hostess is Marion Davies, not Mrs. Hearst. The main reason for that is really chronological. They separated in 1925. These great big rooms are just being finished in 1925. So the real entertaining did not start until beyond that point. As the two walked in, a lot of times Hearst would have sat down here and started telling guests about the room, the assembly room, how it's built primarily around these four large tapestries on these two side walls. These are the Scipio tapestries that are woven out of wool and silk from Belgium, 15th century. And these are battle stories of a famous Roman general named Scipio Africanus. You can see it probably most easily on the horse in the middle of this piece in the superhero red, white, blue. And then probably the most famous of his battles, Get a Little Revenge. Above my head here, he's sending Hannibal back over the Alps. Mr. Hearst, he loved to talk to guests about antique ceilings. He's got the largest antique ceiling collection in the United States, and he's going to try to use as many as possible in the Casa Grande of his antiques, and there's 150 rooms to try that with here. Above your heads is an Italian ceiling carved out of walnut. Hanging, it was literally hanging from beams by such a rope covered in plaster. Once it's set into place, craftsmen would do extension work, building out the ceiling to be fitted to the room itself. They have electricity up there before they break ground. Julia Morgan was not just Mr. Architect, she's a UC Berkeley graduate in civil engineering, and she'd actually take the underground spring on Pine Mountain behind us, the water I drink and the water that fills that pool, converts that underground spring to a hydroelectric power plant. They have electricity up here from day one in 1919. Basically what I'm trying to say is if there's no Julia Morgan, there's no Hearst Castle, period.
Harry Potter.
Alright, so Mr. Hearst, Coffee Prefecture is where all your meals would take place as a guest here. As a guest, you receive a lot of luxuries. One of those luxuries was not room service. Mr. Hearst doesn't believe in it here on the hilltop. He wants his guests out enjoying the ranch during their stay. Swimming in one of two pools, playing tennis out back, maybe out on a trail ride, down at the beach, anything. They'll lay in bed upstairs in one of the 3 cottages waiting for food to be delivered. So 9 o'clock in the morning rolls around, stomach snarling, just like everyone else here. You've got to wipe yourself down. Pick out one of several Hearst publication newspapers off the assembly room table. She walked in the refectory, Mr. Butler would have seated you, served you juice and coffee, took your breakfast order. Once he's got that order, you walk up right through the 14th century Spanish cast iron gates, take a right-hand turn, sends him into the kitchen where all your meals were prepared. Lunch, more often than not, well, we want you out on the ranch again, so more often than not, we lay out buffet style down here on a 17th century carved walnut Italian buffet table. It's a hot lunch. It has 15th century sterling silver English warming trays. To keep lunch fresh, it's put out about 12:30, 1 o'clock or so, with the warming trays. Probably be left out till 2:30, maybe even 3 o'clock. If you didn't make it in at that point, you were welcome to walk into the kitchen and Steph would prepare you something to tide you over until dinner time. And further away from the middle seats, pretty popular notion, you make it down the seats on either end of the table here. You might consider packing your bags. This might be the first time I'm sure it's almost over. Just like next door, Mr. Steve loved to talk to guests about what they're looking at in the room. People always would ask him about, they'd see the flags by the windows. He would have told them they're actually not flags, they are banners. It's a world famous horse race, oldest in the world, happens twice a summer in Siena, Italy, called the Palio. And these banners, they represent the districts that run horses in the race itself. People always ask him about the silver in the room, behind you folks. Many dinner tables, also behind me. You've already heard about the English warming trays, the candlestick holders. These are actually 16th century Spanish. And then the piece you're most interested in behind me in the display case, this is actually 19th century Irish silver. It was given to Mr. Hearst as a gift. This is a ceremonial mace. It'd be used as a symbol of civic or royal power. But over 22,000 items guests could choose from to be curious about here. There were 3 things in particular that they seemed to be the most interested in. It wasn't the ceremonial mace. or Mr. Hearst tapestry collections, or the choir salts. The three things they want to hear about the most was the ketchup bottle, the mustard bottle, and those are paper napkins, just in case you're wondering. We don't have an absolute answer on this one. We think the best answer is provided by Mr. Hearst's oldest son's autobiography, where he wrote he thought this is Dad's way of harkening back to a simpler time, when Mr. Hearst is up here as a young boy camping on Camp Hill, sleeping on the ground, cooking off the ground. So even though most agree it was a pretty elegant dinner setting, just maybe Mr. Hearst wanted to have a little bit of those old Camp Hill cookout elements included with your evening. Dinner's festive. You might be enjoying your meal, and out of nowhere, maybe Charlie Chaplin would jump out of his in seat here, start serenading the entire table. He quite often would perform imitations of guests, sometimes sit right next to him at the table. Even Bob Hope up here was Jim Wade Dolores. Down on the bar end of the table, one Chaplin got on the roll. Even the would-be Prime Minister, Great Britain, Winston Churchill up here with his brother, son, and nephew. One Chaplin got going. Even the Churchills could not escape his wrath. I can stand up here for 8 hours straight, name dropping every famous person that ever stayed here, but trust me, about 30 seconds in, we would all be begging for mercy. So rest assured, there's usually a pretty interesting group of fairly well-known people on the guest list, and even though there are 38 bedrooms upstairs, 24 of the 3 cottages, the guest list up here normally was about a dozen or so people. So it always felt as if you had the whole place all to yourself. After dinner, there's no better place to relax. A little after-dinner conversation, maybe another cocktail in the room right next door. Mr. Hearst calls this one the morning room. It was called the morning room because the morning sun would rise over the San Lucia Mountains in Mr. Hearst's backyard. It's one of the first things to be blasted by the brilliant morning light. But most guests do their time here after dinner because they walk into the morning room, suddenly walking into a smaller space. That's on purpose. They walked in and sat down, they suddenly sit down, a little bit more modern, more comfortable furniture, also on purpose. Purchased in Los Angeles in the early 1920s. Those 2 great big rooms, sometimes those are a little bit intimidating to certain guests. So Mr. Hearst wants his guests, once you make it to this point of the evening, to start relaxing a little bit more, letting your guard down. And to help you do so, Mr. Hearst quite often walking around and hand out cigars, cigarettes, paraphernalia for smoking pipes. I know it's California. Don't you dare mention a cigarette around here nowadays. You're liable to be publicly attacked. But the 1920s, 1930s, it's very socially acceptable. Kind of the thing to do, especially with this Hollywood crowd up here. And just so our younger guests on tour, one thing you should know that all those people have in common, they're all dead now. So that's my public service announcement for the younger guests on tour. Don't smoke. But people were doing it back then, and did a little bit of damage to parts of Mr. Hearst's Army collection. It's not doable at all. My favorite item in the whole room that's very easy to overlook is all these just walk right underneath that red stone archway. That's actually hand-carved red marble, 13th century, from the Pyrenees Mountains in Spain. Literally thousands and thousands of years of forest fire smoke could not penetrate that marble in the Pyrenees, so I doubt a few cigarettes up here on the hilltop would have bothered that piece. That one's pretty much intact. The tapestries, all 4 of these are tapestries of country scenes. It looks like a fall harvest behind you folks over here. The white background above the mountains there. In the middle there, you see a little bit of a brownish, yellowish tint to it. A little bit of smoke damage, still not too bad. But if you look above your heads into a 15th century carved pine Spanish ceiling, in the middle of the scene where you're seeing all the vibrant color, that is brand new to us. About 2.5 years worth of restoration work. One man on a scaffolding, using a brush about the size of a pencil. He's brushing the ceiling. He's not touching it up, not painting it. Basically brushing away smoke damage. You guys look at the outer panel all the way around the ceiling where it's hard to see color. That's what the whole ceiling looked like, 2.5 years ago. And that became a bit of a controversy up here. We're a historic museum, and historians started pointing out to us that Mr. Hearst never ever saw his antique Spanish ceiling. He looked the way it looks in the middle. If they were to ask me, my argument back to the historians would have been it depends on whose history you'd be answering to. Certainly a few hundred years ago in Spain, the whole ceiling may have looked like that. And to be fair to the smokers in our group, it was not just cigarette smokers' fault. You can also blame Mr. Hearst's least favorite of the French fireplaces, carved sandstone, 17th century. He complains as architect for 8 years that often after starting a fire for warmth and comfort, little ambiance, they'd sometimes 3 minutes in have to open up every door and window and sometimes evacuate the room because sometimes as much smoke was being blown in the room as was being blown out of the chimneys. But regardless of the bad fireplace, people really love spending time here after dinner. But not everybody. Some people thought this was a little bit quiet, a little bit slow, and you probably would have bumped into those folks instead next door in Mr. Hearst billiards room.
Because of these tall people.
Marie's wrestler, who appears to be showing off some form of Canadian wildlife draped all over her shoulders. You can see two young ladies on the right-hand side of the screen. The blonde, that is Marion Davies, Miss Hearst's girlfriend, with fellow actress Eileen Pringle. And you're going to see a little bit of Miss Davies' personality flare up for the camera in a second. Here we see Marion Davies, who's being serenaded by Charlie Chaplin with the use of his Dunlop tennis racket. And it does appear that he may have had a little bit of a crush on Mr. Hearst's girlfriend. Anyone that may know the young lady seen between Charlie Chaplin and Adolphe Menjou, I apologize, we simply do not know who she is. Paul Block on the left is a powerful newspaper publisher. He's enjoying the swinging chair with the mayor of New York City, Jimmy Walker.
Do you know
Daddy, I'm hungry for ramen.
Look at Mommy.
Remember that? He went up